So anyone that's been to any of my training before will have heard me say that people like people that are just like them. When we're building rapport or cementing relationships, we know that people like people that are just like them. Birds of a feather flock together. This is a fairly profound and deep-rooted human trait that stems from the oldest part of our brain, the amygdala, that we are drawn to what is similar or familiar, and we shy away from the unknown. So people like people that are just like them. So how do we apply this to our language communication? Well, we know that the words that we use account for just 7% of our communication. Now in recruitment and in sales in general, quite often that 7% becomes our 100%. If you think about your communication and you're sending emails, you're sending mail shots to clients, you're posting adverts, whatever that may be, that's just 7% of your communication. You lose the other 93%. So making the most of that 7% is so important. Now, if you look at this picture, it's up on your screen at the moment. This was taken in Barbados. Now, if you were to ask me what that holiday was like in Barbados, I would tell you that it was the most beautiful place I've ever been to in my life. It was the most crystal clear turquoise sea I have ever seen. It was the most golden sand I've ever seen. And my favourite thing was sitting at the bar in the evening and watching the sun go down. If you were to ask my wife what that holiday was like, she would tell you that she's never felt more relaxed in all of her life. That it was the warmest sea she's ever swam in. And her favourite thing about the holiday was laying back on a hammock, feeling the sun on her face and just having that feeling of being totally relaxed. Now, they're two very different descriptions of the exact same holiday. And what you'll notice by listening to the language of how I describe the holiday and how my wife describes the holiday is that I give you a very visual representation. I talk about what the sea looks like, what the sand looks like, and seeing the sun go down. If you listen to my wife's description, it's all very kinesthetic. It's all about feelings and touch, the warmth of the sea. The feeling relaxed, the sun on her face. It's very kinesthetic. Now, this is because we all have what's called a preferred representational system. We all communicate and like to be communicated with in different ways. Some of us are visual. We use lots of words that describe our sight. Some of us are very auditory, so sounds. And some of us are very kinesthetic, like my wife. It's all about feelings. So why is this important? So what you can do with this is elicit from your clients or whoever it is you're talking to or communicating with what type of person they are. If they're a very visual person, they might be using phrases like "it appears to me" or "it looks like" or "I want to get a perspective." If they're very auditory people, they might be using phrases like "oh, I hear you loud and clear" or "as a manner of speaking" or "can I bend your ear?" And if they're a kinesthetic person, they might be using phrases like "let's get in touch" or "let's get to grips with" or "hold on." And what you can do is elicit from them the type of language that they use and use that language back to them. Because remember, people like people that are just like them. At an unconscious level, we're judging the people that are in front of us. We're judging if that person is just like us. And maybe if they are, that's the kind of person we want to do business with. And this might be the difference that makes a difference. So I'll give you an example. If I'm speaking to a very visual client, I might say to them, if I could show you an attractive way in which you could have whatever you want, you'd at least want to consider it, wouldn't you? And if this looks good, then we'll go ahead and focus on getting the paperwork done. Now, there's nothing clunky or weird about that, but I've just added in some visual words throughout my sentence. If I'm speaking to an auditory person, I might change that slightly and say, if I could tell you a way in which you could have whatever you want, you'd at least want to hear it, wouldn't you? And if this sounds good, then we'll go ahead and discuss getting the paperwork done. Just those small changes takes it from a very, very visual statement to an auditory statement. And lastly, if that's a kinesthetic person, I might change it to, if I could help you get hold of a concrete way in which you could have whatever you want, you'd at least want to get a feel for it, wouldn't you? And if it feels good, then we can go ahead and handle the paperwork. So try this next time. Next time you're talking to a candidate, a client, or someone in your team, someone that you're communicating with, listen out for their language cues and use that language back to them. Another useful exercise is to go back and look at some of your previous emails you've sent or some communication you've sent out to other people, and look out for your own preferred representational system. Are you using a wide variety of language and appealing to lots of people, or are you just sticking to your one preferred system and maybe discounting 2/3 of the people that you're communicating with?